My background is in biomass. We did a lot of work in the 1970s on the use of crop residues, the development of many of the biomass energy plants that were built, designing systems for preparing biomass fuels to make the biooil products. One of the problems that we always had with gasification in particular was we always had this residual char. What do you do about the residual char? And so when biochar began to emerge, to me it was quite interesting because it's really a byproduct of a lot of bioenergy conversion. I think the first thing to do when we're designing an industrial plant, a biomass plant that might generate 5, 10 megawatts of power, we want to look at the products, and if we're generating power, electricity is the product. For example, a stormwater product might have to absorb nitrates and phosphates, might have to capture zinc or copper. All that relates to the product quality that we're producing. We put something out for the farmer, its function has to be predictable because the farmer is dealing with a wide variability in weather, crop circumstances. Here are some pictures from some plants, densification plants that we built recently. To make fuel bricks, to make fuel pellets, why not put in a biochar process line and add it to an existing plant to take advantage of an existing infrastructure? This plant takes in 75 tons a day, about 3 truckloads of wood, runs it through a gasifier in the lower left, generates 2 products, electricity and heat. In this particular case, the economic justification for this project is not the electricity. The electricity is only 4 cents a kilowatt hour. It's the heat. They're actually paying the equivalent of about $8 per gigajoule. You're going to be producing, you're going to be processing so many tons per hour of biomass, whether it's a grass or a straw or wood. But this is the scale of a plant that would be processing about 2 or 3 tons a day, about 3 truckloads a day of biomass. And your plant scale is going to be something in the 3 to 12 ton per hour capacity range, equal to about a 3 to 10 megawatt biomass plant. You produce about 1 to 4 tons per hour of char, up to 30,000 tons per year of char. When you build a plant like this, it's going to cost anywhere from $5 to $20 million. So what I would recommend is visit a biomass plant with a similar production capacity to what you want to produce.
What Phoenix Energy is a private label power producer where we go in and do joint ventures with site holders to basically build, own, and operate biomass gasification systems where they make sense. Biomass for biomass sake, it's hard to make it work. And biochar, again, has really just been a game changer. I'll tell you right now, we make as much money selling biochar as we do selling electricity. I'd like to tell you that was part of the master plan. Trifecta or bust. On-site electricity, on-site heat load, and on-site fuel. The minute you put biomass on a truck, you start to lose. You're taking trucks off the road. You're keeping the energy local. You're keeping the heat local. You keep the jobs local, and you keep the biochar local. Right now, we ship biochar to the East Coast. Our biggest customers are in the Pacific Northwest and Southern California. We sell absolutely nothing in the Central Valley of California. That is a model which has to change. It cannot make sense to ship popcorn to Minnesota. We see small biochar plants locally where that biochar is kept in the local environment. This is a game about and. You need all the revenue streams to make this work and to make this work attractively. If you have the right application, heat is worth more than electricity. If you can find your mushroom farm who's burning $300,000 a year worth of diesel fuel, if you can find your ag guy who's drying all the distiller grain sludge from the ethanol plants, you can sell that heat for a lot more than you can sell the electricity for. We're very excited about biochar as filtration. But right now, I'll tell you, every sale we make is direct to ag.
This is our workhorse. This is the mule. This is the mobile atom retort. We adopted very early a principle of simplicity. We looked at charcoal production and we decided it's been done for thousands of years. We call it the world's second oldest profession. There has to be a way to do this off-the-shelf, accessible, available to the small-scale farmer, to the backyard gardener, the mobile atom retort. That barrel behind Bob replaces the chimney that vents the water vapor into the air. We now capture all of the gases of this, run it through a condenser, get about 100,000 BTUs of energy out of it, which we can use for making salt, warming our greenhouse, blowing warm air into the ambient air when we do demonstrations in the middle of winter. Use of energy usually trumps mobility. At first, people are very excited about being able to move the machine around, take the machine to the feedstock, take the machine to their neighbors, until I say, well, do you want to haul this thing all around the county, or do you want to heat 4,000 square feet of greenhouse? We also look at cooperation among stakeholders. Who's got the feedstock? Who's got the land the biochar has to go into? Every step of the way, we're constantly observing and analyzing how the operation we're looking at involves all the community and social relationships in the neighborhood, as well as the ecological relationship.
Things that I'm talking about is primarily based at the small farm level. One of the things that I and my students looked at is, okay, what is the real benefit to farmers when you start dealing with biochar? There are other things that farmers want. One of the things that the small farmers that sell in the farmers market want to do is expand the season of their productivity. As we went along, we evolved to try to do two things. One is to make biochar, and the other is to capture heat. Because if you're going to extend the season in a hoop house, you've got to have the heat. How are you going to capture that? The best way is thermal mass, and the most efficient thermal mass is water. If you can put the heat into the water and then have the water slowly release heat inside the hoop house through the course of the night, by morning your tomatoes will still be alive. This is the biochar that we made, and then it was ground up into that kind of powder for use on the farm. They used it in lettuce, extending their season about 4 weeks from their average. They made about $1,000 more on their lettuce crop than they did the previous year. Even though they used pretty much the same beds and pretty much the same system, the only difference being the biochar. We're not exactly sure why that happened. We have no replication, so we can't prove it. But they're enthusiastic and want to make more biochar.